everyone, welcome back to Adventures with Edna. I'm Chris, and today is not the adventure we intended on. We had plans to do something casual yesterday, and it just didn't work out that way. And today we were going to fix the Angel, which is now missing if you'd paid attention to our shorts this week. So what had happened was, as we left yesterday, we were going to make a quick stop, get some gas, and then head out on the adventure. We made it as far as almost to the gas station when a guy flagged us down and invited us in to check out his F1 that he had hiding in his backyard. So we spent a few minutes talking to him, and he had a pretty cool 50 F1 that was blue. He checked out Edna a little bit, then we left. We made it as far as the gas station. Then as soon as we left the gas station, we started getting this squeaking sound. So we made it down the road a little bit, then the squeaking noise was getting worse. So I kind of pulled off to the side of the road. I got out, I popped the hood. After looking around briefly, I thought that the fan belt looked kind of loose. So I figured we weren't too far from the house, so I turned around, went back to the house just because I didn't have a wrench large enough to loosen the bolt that lets you tighten up the bolts, or lets you tighten up the belts. So we got back home, I tightened the belts up, and the squeaking sound didn't change at all. So I loosened it back up again and did a closer inspection and found that the pulley on the fan had broken. So after a couple of text messages and a quick phone call, I was able to find a fan on short notice. So we jumped in the BMW, we shot out to Gray Court, to a familiar place, if you've been with the channel since last summer at least, Classic Cars of South Carolina, where he had a couple of Flathead V8s. So we went to go check out the fans there to see if one was going to be usable. All right, we're back here at Classic Cars of South Carolina, where we're getting a new fan for Edna. They only had one out here, which is a little different than mine. So hopefully it'll match up. I did make sure to bring the old one with me. As long as the pulleys are going to line up, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't work. Mine's a 5-blade fan. The one they have out here is a 3-blade fan, which I'm not overly worried about, just because I want to be able to do electric fans at some point. But hopefully this will get us up and running, especially since I'm daily driving Edna right now. I can't really afford to have the downtime. So here we go. Not sure what that is, but it's weird. Chrysler, maybe? Alright, so this is the one they have. So I guess as long... Let's take it off and we'll make the comparison of the two. Just realized this one has a different belt size than mine. This one's definitely a lot different than mine. The pulley size is way off. Then again, how would you know since the belt broke? Yeah, that's a lot different. Unfortunately, since that didn't work out, we were able to segue into a new project that we wanted to do for a while now, and that is converting to electric fans. Now, I wasn't expecting to do this project so quickly, but since I'm daily driving Edna right now, I got to be ready to go to work tomorrow. So we couldn't let this fan situation get us down. So, again, after some text messages, we were able to get the hookup from Daniel at Petty's Garage.
Daniel.
On a higher powered alternator. The one that's on Edna now is a 60 amp, and we were afraid that it wasn't going to be powerful enough to run an electric fan. I already had the fan for this project, so we went from Classic Cars of the Carolinas to Classic Cars of South Carolina to Petty's Garage, where we picked up an alternator. Then all that was lacking was a little bit of wiring and a thermostat control. So basically, I said all that to say what we're doing today now, which is the electric fan conversion. So let's get started. All right, so we're already a little into this project further than I thought we would be at this point, because we had to pull the fan off yesterday to match it up when we went to look at the other fan. So we took that with us. So it's already off. At the moment, this belt is still loose. This is the big nut that I was talking about that I didn't have a big enough wrench for when we were out on the road. So we got that loose. So basically this is going to consist of an alternator change. And that's going to be pretty straightforward. All we got to do is take this bolt out, that bolt out, disconnect the wires from the back because it's a one-wire alternator system. The one that we got from Petty's Garage is the exact same alternator that we have now, just a higher amperage. Now, initially, when we converted Edna to 12 volts, I didn't think I was ever going to be running any kind of accessories in here, so I wasn't overly concerned with having a lot of power. So I only got the 60 amp. Now, I've done this project before on my 69 F100 that I had years ago, and I put an electric fan in it, and it also had a 60 amp alternator from the factory. And after making the conversion to the electric fan, the battery was always either dead or sounded like it was low on juice. So what we did was got a bigger alternator and a bigger battery to handle it. Now, we changed that alternator recently, or we changed that battery recently in another video, so you guys have already seen that. So we're part of the way into this project. Now, we're going to change this alternator out, and we're going to make a mount for the fan to go on, so we're not attaching it directly to the fins on the radiator. Now, again, here's our old fan. This is what happened. It occurred to me that we could just weld this, but that was basically the noise we were getting. But we put way too many miles on Edna to just weld that up. And I couldn't get another fan on short notice. So this is going to help us out a lot as far as getting into some of the other stuff we want to do, like going to some car shows where we might run into heavy traffic. So we don't have to worry about heating up. And we'll now be able to go to McDonald's without heating up in the drive-thru. So this is our new alternator. And if you're familiar with putting one of these on a Flathead, the only thing that you really have to do is make a slight modification where from this little line right here, you have to cut that off. So we're going to cut that off, and we're going to make our bracket for the fan. All right, so we have two things we're going to cut right off the bat here. One is we're going to run a piece of aluminum across here at the bottom of the fan and at the top. So we need to see how wide our radiator is. Now, this is a Champion radiator that I bought not long after buying Edna. I don't remember exactly where I got her. So we make that 22.5 inches long times 2. So we have our brace that we're going to use. Now, I was going to go with a piece of angle, but based on the way our fan, the mounting holes on it are, you would have had to get a really wide piece of angle to be able to run that. So we don't have that, so we had to go with this. I tried, Doug. It wasn't going to work out. All right, so we're going to do 22 and a half. It's a 4-foot piece. .22 and a half. So we're going to score it at 22 and a half. And cut. Times 2. Since we're not ready for those yet, we're going to cut our alternator and do that swap. It's a little hot. All right, alternator change time. Occurred to me we should start this off by removing the battery, or disconnecting the battery. First we take out this bolt. Get the other side. This one needs a second 1/2-inch wrench. Because before we pull out that other bolt, we're going to take our nut off the back and pull our 2 wires off. All right, maybe it was 3 wires. Now we got our 2 1/2-inch wrenches for the other side. Now, just take that out. Maybe. Let's get our belt off. All right, we got our new one. Set that in there. Get our belt on it. I don't think it's the same size. We might have to change this pulley to the other one. Let me go compare them. Yeah, we've got 2 different size pulleys here. So we're going to swap those out real quick, which isn't a big deal. We'll just pull the nut off and move it to the other one. All right, we got our 15/16. See if I can do this while holding the camera. Probably not. Let's see what, if anything, happened. Nothing.
A few moments later.
That was easy enough. That was easy enough. Get this drop back in here with our new belt. Let's get our other bolt started with our spacer. Which is going to take forever, so we'll pause the video. Alright, we got that bolt tightened up. Now we'll tighten up the other one. And then we'll tension our belt back up and tighten that up. That should be good right there. And we'll just tighten our nut. Alright, our belt looks okay. Let's put our wires back on the back. Then we're going to reconnect our battery. Make sure we're charging like we should. Alright, we got our nice new alternator in there. We got a little bit of belt tension going. We'll see how that is. We'll see if it squeaks. And make sure we're charging. Well, the numbers look a little crazy on the camera, but it's charging okay. It's cold. We don't want to get her too hot because we got to get in there and work. All right, we seem to be idling at 12.9. Give it a little gas, it goes up to 4.6, which is about what it did before, I think. Let's take a look outside. Seems to be turning just fine. Wasn't squeaking when I revved up the engine, so I think we're good there. Successful alternator change. Disconnect our battery again. So, we had a small snag. My plan was to get everything mounted and then wire last. But you can see over my shoulder here, the BMW is not parked there like it was earlier when we started this video. Why is that relevant, you ask? Well, because the fan is in the back seat. So, since we are under the gun here, because some of us got to get to work in the morning, we're going to proceed with the wiring now, and we will mount the fan when it gets back. So, what we have here is a Hayden 3647 fan control. This basically installs by mounting this to the inner fender here. We're going to put it right about just over the hump there. And it comes with little instructions letting you know where all the wires got to go. So we're going to handle that. We're going to get everything all wired up and plugged in as best we can while we wait on the wire. It's in a bit of a box tangle. Now, the way we want to put this in is with the Made in China section up. And the reason for that is we want to be able to get to this little dial right here, which is how you adjust the control for when the fan comes on. So let's figure out how we're going to mount this thing. All right, I forgot to hit record, so we're off to a good start here. So we've got this temporarily mounted right here while we figure out where we're going to put stuff. So we're going to start with our ground wire. We're going to figure out where we want that to go. Where's somewhere simple we can put it? Could put it in with our body ground. Let's do that. We'll take our little body ground, which is, is red. That's what you want. Seems good and secure. Waterproof this thing. We got ground. All we gotta do is connect it. But not yet. Our red wire is our body positive. Wait, did I say body? No, battery positive. So our red wire is this one. I think the way that I want to handle that is we're going to bring it down here-ish. We'll bring it up with our other wires because we can hide it in this sheath here and connect it to the back of the alternator. So that's what's going to happen there. All right, for whatever reason, it didn't record me connecting this wire to the back of the alternator. So you guys, probably missed a really exciting part there. So now, let's move on to the next wire, which is what? Yellow, ignition. That is this one. So we're going to run this wire to right there and then just hook it to the positive side of our coil and call that done, or good, or however you want to call that. All right, we missed another eyelet going on. I don't know who's doing the camera work here. They're sucking at it today. Let's get this tightened down. Then all that's left to wire up is the fan, which we're still waiting on. Well, there's only one more thing we can really do. Everything's wired up except for the two wires that have to go to the fan itself, which we don't have the fan, so we can't do those. and we're going to see exactly where on the radiator we want it to go based on where the original fan set. So we're going to measure that up roughly while we wait on the fan to come back. There's our fan. Don't kill our radiator. So based on where this thing sat before, I guess we want the center of our fan to be right about here-ish. Yeah, roughly about there-ish. Now, our probe here mounts directly to the radiator, but we don't want to just push it through these fins because you can see there's a big difference in size from one to the other. But if you look right up under here, there is space between the radiator tank and the top where we don't have to bend anything, which is the most ideal situation. So we are going to reach back here, and we're going to push right there. And that just goes in from the back side. We'll get another zip tie and make that wire a little shorter. You want to have it closer to the top because the water is hottest here because it cools as it goes down. So you need it close to the top of the radiator to be as close to engine temp as you can get. We're going to put one of these little fuzzy pads right up here in the corner to keep that from pushing the rest of the way through. And I guess we'll take the other one and try to apply a little bit of tension against the other side just to kind of keep holding that where it is. Perfect. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to keep that temporarily there, but we're going to eventually move it over here, but I'm going to have to get some screws for that, like some sheet metal screws. All right, this is our fan setup. So this is the bar we cut earlier, this one, and this one. And the way we want to put this in is we're going to try to center it on these bars as much as we can. So we got 7 inches there. Six and 7/8. 6 and 7/8. We don't want to. We could run these this way, but I kind of don't want to have them too far into the middle of the fan blades. That wouldn't be cool. So we need to bring this down a little bit so they're kind of more centered. Double check our mark. 6 and 7/8. 6 and 7/8. All right, we got a pilot. And another pilot. And then we'll transfer that to this one once we drill through. Oh. All right, so we got this all drilled for our new setup. We are turning it this way. And we got all of our screws so that they can come from the back side of the hole here. And I went with screws because I didn't want anything blunt pointed directly at the radiator. All right. now we have our mounts. This is not going in as easy as I thought it was going to. It's in there, but I had to do a little bit of finagling to get it in there right. So we're going to put it roughly there, because that'll put it about where it was before. So we just need to drill a couple holes to put it where we want it. Like that. It's going to be beautiful. This one up here, and then its hole. Can't quite see underneath this. No, you stay on there. Get the washer on. Now, we get a low hole in here, which you guys probably won't be able to see. Alright, that last screw got long and boring. So I cut the camera off, got the other one done right there. So all we have left to do at this point is connect our plug. So we have the terminals we need for that. This is our power. So what we have to do is put our end on it and plug it into our plug on the fan. I don't remember if this was a melting kind or not. Maybe. Alright, I think we'd be safe in assuming that our blue wire is the power wire and the other wire is the ground wire. So now we need a ground wire. So we got a black wire for our ground. We'll get another connector on that. Plug that into our other side. Figure out where we want to put this thing. Probably over here with our other ground. Alright, let's check some stuff. Put our battery back on. Alright, nothing came on, so we assume that we're good, but we don't know for sure yet. Alright, we're going to take that back off for a minute because we need to go inside and get a ring terminal to go on that. Be right back. Now we just need to hook it up over there next to our solenoid. Alright, let's reconnect our battery. Alright, let's start it up and see what happens. Alright, everything seems to be moving along pretty well, so I'm going to clean up some tools while I wait on this to warm up. Alright, so we got the engine running. We went for a test drive around the block. The fan's not currently on. I don't know. We're going to see it a little bit in there. But We can see the temperature gauge is starting to creep up a little bit now, so it should hopefully come on. We've got our little adjustment over here. Maybe we'll turn that down a little bit until it comes on. Well, it didn't end the way I thought it was going to. We couldn't get the fan to come on, so we had to break out the circuit testers, and everything's getting power, but it turns out that our fan is no good. What sucks is the fan that I used, I've had sitting around for a while for this project. It was a good working fan. It came off of another car I had, and it was fine, but it has been sitting for the last 6 years. So I guess it just doesn't want to work anymore. Anyway, so we're going to have to get a different fan, but everything is wired up correctly and installed correctly. It just turns out that our fan was no good, and in hindsight, I probably should have checked the fan before we got this far, but I didn't have any reason to think that it wasn't working. So, but anyway, thanks to Petty's Garage for hooking me up with the alternator. Thanks to Doug for his help, and we're going to get this working right. It's going to be a little bit of a trial and error because it didn't go down exactly the way I wanted it to. Like I said, I wanted to get a fan shroud instead of just making a mount, and we still got to finish up the wiring. The wiring is all installed, but it's not cleaned up nice yet. We basically just got it to where we can run it, but now we don't have a working fan, so I'm going to have to get that. So anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Hopefully you learned something, even though we didn't get the fan to actually work. It will actually turn, but it'll only kind of like, if you kind of give it a hit, like if you hit it with a screwdriver, it'll turn kind of weakly and then shut off. So I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, like I said, hopefully you guys learned something. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Thanks for watching. Chance will be back next week, and we'll see you in the next one.